Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the New Media Lab here at Mesa Community College. And we are starting our 2021 spring semester. Today, we have our president, Lori Berquam, with us. And we got a bit of an agenda here, some areas that we'd sort of like to talk about under the heading of, hey, welcome back, man, you know?
Happy 2021, right?
Happy 2021. We're getting there. We're crawling into it. It's been a wild time, I guess, in America. Yeah, it's been very, very interesting about a lot of our social traditions and our institutional structures and how those have been challenged and how those are going to impact those of us out here in just regular or ordinary land.
Absolutely. Our wellness, I was reading an article today about COVID fatigue and how there's so much of it, and that emotional well-being or mental health stability levels are really sky high in terms of people's sense of feeling like their place in the world is where it should be. I think we were hesitant in leaving for COVID, leaving the college on, was it March 17th or thereabouts that we left, and now I think we're at that point where we've developed new routines, we've figured out new processes to follow, that office to refrigerator back to your computer walk isn't far enough for me. And so, but I do think it's something we have to keep in mind as we begin our mental shift that we'll need to do to return from remote. And that's easier said than done. I feel like I haven't put very many miles on my car. I feel like I have been able to shelter in place in many ways, and I've been fortunate to do that. I know that many haven't had that good fortune, that privilege.
Yeah, I think all of those areas are very interesting and redesigning your daily practice,
Mm-hmm.
in some ways, as terrible as this has been. I know the people that we have lost is tragic in so many ways, and in ways probably we'll never know. But in the midst of all of that, it's maybe America needed a timeout. Let's just take a timeout.
The environment would applaud that for
Yeah,
sure.
and then the areas of economic loss for people, and the sad part about these types of things is it's generally, the poorest people that are hurt first, just losing your job, waiting tables or just ordinary salt of the earth kind of work. Folks get hurt.
I feel like the gap has gotten bigger. I feel like there are some who have been able to prosper financially during this time, Eddie, and I feel like there are some who are barely hanging on by a thread.
Yeah.
My spouse volunteers at St. Mary's at the food distribution center, and
Where's that at?
it's in Mesa. And she talks about how the lines, people are lined up well before sunrise to be able to get the distribution. And, it's done very safely, but it's really eye opening in terms of just the level of need and how that has really exploded. There's always been need, but I think what this has done is those people who were making it, but just barely, are now finding themselves unable to make it and are seeking support in other ways.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's, definitely emphasized the poverty in America and just how fragile, the living wage is for folks. I just finished a book. Well, actually, I have two more chapters left in a book called The Deficit Myth. What an amazing book. These economists who, over 80 years, did a study on money and the concept of money and the economics behind money. And when we say in America we're the greatest country in the world or the richest country in the world, we shouldn't have people going hungry. And what COVID did in many ways of how we would serve, especially children, by getting meals at school.
Mm-hmm.
It's been a disruption to those children. And is, as always with these sorts of things, it can, it can bring the best or the worst out in us. I like to look at the best, um, but acknowledge that we have a lot of work to do.
Last week, I had the opportunity to meet with Dr. Forlis, who is the superintendent of Mesa Public Schools, and we actually talked about that very topic
Mm,
about how so many of the children that would get served by the public school system served in a number of different ways. I mean, certainly food or nourishment wise, but also keeping an eye on things such as any sort of child abuse or emotional abuse and those sorts of things. Also, we don't have that opportunity with remote learning to do that as much. It's a little bit more difficult to discern that from, a Zoom classroom or some such thing. And so it's one thing that we know when we get back to the face to face, and we will get back, as we will
yeah,
talk about in a little bit, the vaccinations. Um, but there's a whole year that has been, in some ways, sort of, I don't want to say lost because we didn't lose it. We know exactly where it is.
right.
But it certainly has been a change in our year, in our structure, in our routines, in the way we have typically done things. And I want to wonder, fast forwarding, 5, 10, 15 years down the road, what are the lessons we will take from this time that will keep with us? And what are those that we may let go of? What will be the things we will notice? And an example is when I was in graduate school, the drinking age changed in Wisconsin from 18 to 21. And so there was this year of like really those 18-year-olds were really celebrating that they had that year. And then fast forwarding what happened in 5 years and 10 years. It's a crude example, but it's something for us to think about when these major life events happen, when 9/11 happened, when Pearl Harbor happened, when other really horrible events have happened. How have those shaped us for the future?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's perfectly appropriate to equate this to those sorts of events. I mean, it has it's such a subtle and silent kind of I don't know, virus, predator, whatever, And that's the hard thing for people, I think, is unless you contracted the virus and someone that has, and last night I went up to just to the market to grab some rice, and a guy pulled up, hey, hey, and yeah, hey man, how you been? He's like, oh, my mom and dad died. My mom passed
Wow.
away a day after Christmas, and my dad passed away a couple of days ago around New Year's from COVID. They were in a rest home, elderly home together in Scottsdale.
I'm
And
sorry.
it's just, yeah, right. And so, unless you're having that experience, it seems like a very invisible thing going on. But I think it is totally appropriate to equate Pearl Harbor with, what's going on here. I mean, we've lost over, I don't know, 300,000, 350,000
Right.
Americans. I don't even know. I don't know what the global count is, but
And
um,
disproportionately,
yeah, just, yeah,
black
absolutely.
and brown people
Yeah.
have been lost to this, and the elderly.
Yeah, I had some relatives over here at Salt River tell me that they have the community has lost over 77 people. That was like a month ago.
And the Navajo Nation in northern Arizona,
Yeah, yeah.
huge numbers.
Well, I know. I saw my friend up at White Mountain that they're getting vaccines now. Tribal members can
Right.
get vaccines, and hopefully that will curtail this. But we don't want to jump the gun too early, you guys, because Arizona is still very much a hot spot for COVID,
Indeed.
and so we have to be resilient and patient, and just keep doing. We're down on the 20-yard line.
And even when we get vaccines,
Yeah,
Eddie, we still have to make sure that we're wearing masks, that we're washing our hands and that we're being physically distant because we don't know yet who has the vaccine. We don't know who hasn't had the vaccine. And the vaccine isn't 100%. It's, I think the most recent that I've read is between 94 and 96% effective.
Wow. Yeah.
So we still have cause to take precautions.
Yeah. Hygiene and all of that stuff. I mean, I told some folks last night, I said, man, when this is over, I think I'm going to keep wearing my mask. This is the first year in 24 years I've not had the flu and the cold and a sore throat from being in a classroom with,
Me too.
you know what I mean? It's like,
Yeah.
wow, I don't even, these guys, yeah, knock on wood, baby, knock on wood. But yeah, by now in the fall or spring, I've got the head cold. And then, in the fall, you just watch the thing go around the room,
Yep, you
and
sure do.
so yeah, I'm gonna keep wearing my mask, man.
Good for you.
Yeah, and then the other thing about taking that time out, like not, I know I'm infusing some of my own personal stuff here, but normally because I'm kind of a type A workaholic type of guy, I'd be down here at this 7:30 in the morning, and we'd get out here when like real 4:35, 6 at night sometimes. And now, I get up in the morning and I walk the canal across the street. Try to walk for at least an hour, and I'm able to listen to books and podcasts, and I'm able to slow things down and refocus and I think in many ways, the production that we've been doing has been elevated in some ways, but I think the quality of it is actually better because I'm not just running myself ragged day after day after day after day after day. And so, in some ways, on a personal note, that's been really good for me to sort of have time to reprioritize, my wellness practice.
And that's a good takeaway.
Yeah.
Let's keep that.
Yeah.
Let's hold on to some of those things. I know that I've heard that from others that like there has been a bit of maybe in this cocooning or in the sheltering that we have had an opportunity to do a little bit more self-care. How do we continue that
Yeah.
and take that with us as we move into summer and fall where we might have more face-to-face interactions with each other? Still wear your mask. You're right. That's a great idea.
Yeah.
We were just reflecting on that, Karen and I were, about how this has to be the first winter in how many that we haven't had a cold.
I know.
Seriously, I mean, we can almost count on it about the day school finals end. I end up with a cold.
Yeah.
So
And it just contains itself inside the student body and inside the classroom. You just,
Sure.
as a teacher, it's just, and I have students who've been sick or getting sick or had been sick, and maybe they've missed a class or two, and they want to emphasize that they were sick by walking up and coughing in my face, just, to
I'm
make
sure
sure that
that's
I understand they were sick. I'm like, thanks, dude. But there's a lot of options for wellness, and I think that you have done a really good job in the social media part that I see through the intranet or through your announcements. Early on, you were way on top of that about nutrition and taking care of yourself, and
did you
that's
say
what leadership is.
nutrition? Did you say nutrition?
Yeah. Well, and you know what? I just finished this other book called I think it's called Eat, Sleep, and Move or something like that. It's this guy that has multiple tumors throughout his body, and he decided he'd like to live. And so he got in, he studied. Were you the one that told me about that book? Maybe Paul did, but it's a great book. But it's like chapter 32, like, come on, man. But he said about, if you're going to be concerned with your own wellness, if you buy food for other people, and I had strawberries in this hand and the cupcakes in this hand. I'm going to get her cupcakes. So if you guys can't see, we had some nice buttercup cupcakes for our president today. But I did get water in a glass bottle.
You
for
did.
him. So, I'm trying to. So, yeah, it's important that we emphasize that kind of stuff.
The other part of it is, how do we also allow each other to take care of ourselves? Meaning giving each other permission. So say, for example, Eddie, you are back to the college and you are working, crazy hours to the bone. How do we tell each other, it's okay, Eddie, go out and walk for an hour
Yeah.
by the canal and take care of yourself, because we're no good to our students if we're not able to do that. We're no good to each other if we're not able to do that.
Well, that's on me, and I've learned and I'm learning and I like this. And I think I know from when I was a young guy being involved in sports that, you create your habits and
Hmm.
habits become, a way of life. And so that's what I'm taking this time to do is develop good habits. So when we do come back, I'm like, well, I either I get up a little earlier or whatever, but I still going to get my walk in. I love, right across from Mesa Community College is one of the Arizona canals. And Dakota and I walk it, we walked it this morning, and I'm gonna try to keep that going because you guys had this thing, the Mesa Mile, and I'd see you guys, and I'd be like, look at these clowns walking around school, and now I'm like, I'll be on that walk with you guys as soon as school
Actually, I
happens.
want to go with you down the canal.
Yeah. Oh, it's so beautiful. And sometimes the water is so clear and you see these huge school
A
of
fish.
fish. Yeah.
Yeah, I've
Yeah.
seen them in the canal by
Yeah.
us.
And ducks are coming in this time of year. And yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. A buddy of mine that rides it on the bike said it's like a 24-mile stretch. Remember Charlie? Everybody, we love Charlie Morris, man. I've not erased his notes up on the wall. We lost Charlie to leukemia last November. One of the best English teachers I've ever met in my life. Uh, really hard around the edges, didn't get along with anybody, came back to teaching in his mid 40s after being a successful mortgage guy and just hated everything about public education. Best teacher I'd ever seen, man. Just couldn't get along with anybody. But he rode that canal, man. He was on that bike and just rode the heck out of that canal. It's really, 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 really beautiful. So we have this sense of trying to find this balance between wellness and the COVID fatigue.
Right.
Um, what are you hearing on the fatigue end of?
Well, I think what you're hearing and we're seeing, actually, as it's displayed in our hospitals around the state and even in the county, that I think people got tired of being isolated, and come the holidays, they wanted to get together. And so I think that was a result of fatigue, missing friends and family, and having that connection. And so I think as a result of the fatigue, we are seeing higher numbers. I also think that there's, sense of, uh, are we done yet? Are we done yet? When
Yeah,
is this going to be done? And I'm done, or you're done, or I'm, tired of wearing the mask. I'm tired of, my hands are so dry, they're flaking off from washing my hands so often, or, keeping that 6 foot of distance. I know that I didn't go home to my family for the holidays, and I
mm,
missed that.
mm,
I missed that connection, that grounding, that opportunity. And I know that's a privilege that I have, that I still have my parents alive and my siblings and extended family. But that's a point of, I think for many, that's a point where they feel really, where they're able to be their best selves. And so the fatigue set in and they're like, nope, I got to go see my family.
yeah, yeah. I did go home. I went to my doctor. I got a test that 8 in the morning had a negative result by noon. I had an ice chest, packed up in my car and drove 17 hours straight and got home and just stayed, pretty much just stayed there. Like I have to see my family. Yeah.
Were your granddaughters a part of that?
Oh, well, yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Yeah. Yeah.
I just saw a video that Eddie created with his granddaughters, and
Yeah.
it's really beautiful.
Well, one of the books, the another book that I got through, that's another thing that I've got to read.
More books. Me too,
I've
Eddie.
read
Me
like
too.
7 books in the last few months. Normally I'd put one on my desk, and I'd be like, man, come the winter break, that's my, I don't care. I'm gonna go get a hotel room or something, but I'm gonna read this book. And with all, I've been able to read lots more stuff. But there's a book called The Universe Has Your Back, and it's a woman in New York who's in recovery from alcoholism and drug addiction. But her main thing was her self perception of herself. She was very, very critical of herself, which I can kind of, gotta love that myself. But she just talks about meeting every opportunity with creativity,
Mm.
no matter what it is. And I've kind of intuitively always felt that. And again, that's what we like. Just whatever's going on, man. Create something, write something, paint something, carve something, build something. Take that energy and make something beautiful. And I think a lot of people have done that. I mean, I've know a lot of folks that have got back into like creating stuff or
They tapped back into that and had gone dormant for a while, but they
yeah,
were able to tap back in.
yeah,
Absolutely.
painting a wall in your house a different color, working around. So yeah, when I went home, I mean that's the first thing. But now they're at an age where they really want to hang out with that old guy. And so I know that's coming, but for now, we're doing okay. The hope, I guess, is this vaccine coming down the road. Where are we at as a community college with the vaccine?
Well, the state came out with its different levels, and K through 12 is in 1B, and that's the prioritization. And then we are following that prioritization. So we're in the 1B non-prioritized group is where we will be in the vaccine schedule for the state of Arizona.
Calendar wise, what is it?
I wish I knew the exact dates. I'm sure I would make a lot of people happy if I could give an exact date, but it's been moving fairly quickly. And so my hope is maybe by February, we will be up for vaccination and we'll be able to take advantage of the vaccination available in the state of Arizona. So, my plug would be when it is available, I hope you'll get vaccinated for yourself, for your family, for our students, for each other.
It leads to a conversation I had with a colleague about is it going to be mandatory to get the vaccine? And I was told, no, it's not. It's not mandatory, but you got to take it if you want to work here. It's like, sounds pretty mandatory to me. Where are we at with that?
I highly doubt we'll get to the mandatory point at the college level or at the district level for that matter. It would actually have to be a district wide policy, not just an MCC policy. But I think there's a few other liberties there that maybe we would be bumping up against. And so it's just my hope that those who can get vaccinated will get vaccinated. And that's the tactical approach I would like us to take because I know, our students want to be back in the
Yeah.
classrooms. They want to be back at the college. They want to be engaging with the amazing faculty and staff that we have. And so my hope is we'll be resuming a little bit more sense of normalcy in the summer and that come fall 21, we will be back to mostly face to face classes, but certainly still will keep some hybrid and some online options for our students.
So we've talked about this too, about the things we've learned to be more efficient during this time, like the emphasis that's sort of a cultural conflict, if you will, about online versus face to face. So this sort of threw it all online, right? And so now we have probably more data and evidence, empirical evidence about this idea of who wants to be online and who wants to be face to face. And I think it's played out kind of what a lot of assumptions were, that there is definitely a need for distance learning, but that young kids, especially in Maricopa around here, they want to be here. They want to be in the club. They want to be in the geology club or
Mm-hmm.
the debate club or they want to be over in the music department playing music with their friends or
Theater
yeah.
performances, absolutely. Art, engaging with the medium. Yeah.
And so I keep thinking, Man, that's going to be great to be with a bunch of students who want to be here. Right. What's that going to feel like? Because we took that for for granted as well. So, but when we come back, let's say, I don't know if summer is too early. We're still planning our New Media Lab Summer Institute around a new class that Craig and Hank and all of them have revitalized around cultural identity and perspectives, because I think we need to start engaging in that level, and we need to have qualified people teaching those classes as well. So we're looking forward to that, and we're hoping that will be face to face, and we're going to be discussing about that in the summer. But for the fall, what's your data or your gut telling you?
Oh, I wish I had a crystal ball. I went out and bought one of those magic 8 balls, just so I could consult it regularly. I think, and I've been having some conversations with our COVID czar, VP Hendricks, Brad Hendricks, and I think there's a sense that if we could get to, maybe if we could get to that point of having, maybe it's 60% online or online, 60 to 70% face to face, and then, the remaining 40 or 30% is some combination of online and hybrid.
Mm,
I think there are still students who desire the online
sure.
option for flexibility, and the hybrid is kind of the best of both worlds when faculty member has been really intentional about what those face-to-face experiences are and what they can offer. And then, to a student, and I have talked to many students who would say, you know, they took for granted the opportunity to be face-to-face
Mm,
and to learn from instructors and learn from their fellow students and engage and actually watch the facial expressions and you can watch them online, and you and I both know you can watch them, but they just don't have the same level. I mean, look at how furrowed my brow is right now. I'm not sure you can see all those wrinkles, and maybe that's a good thing that you can't see them all. But I do it right. I'm I very much am a hands-on type of person with regard to, when I buy something, I touch it. And I think there's a lot of learners who value that as well.
yeah, we all are. I mean, we're human beings. We can't get past. And that's funny you say that, because in my syllabus, I put a note that I'm legally blind. I'm legally blind in my right eye. So I've had students go, "Are you mad at me?" I'm like, "No, no, man, I can't see. I'm just squinting. You know."
I'm trying to read that.
Yeah. So welcome back to the New Media Lab here at Mesa Community College. We're having a welcome back conversation with our president, Lori Berquam. We were talking about having a crystal ball for the fall and the spring, and seeing where our tactical practice over keeping everybody safe during the COVID pandemic. Lori said she had went and bought one of those little 8 ball things, glow ball. What is it called?
It's called a Magic 8 Ball.
The
And I just
magic
got it
eight.
from
Yeah.
Amazon. So I didn't actually go out.
Oh,
It
oh.
came to my house
'Cause
magically.
I was gonna say it's right next to the Yahtzee board. So for those of us that
Ouija
love
board or Ouija
Yahtzee,
board.
oh
Oh,
yeah, Ouija is
yeah.
that's where you put your hands on there and
Yeah.
move it around.
Yeah.
So we were talking about, what will the summer and fall look like in terms of face to face in relationship to distance learning. And so it's starting to have a little bit of a feel for that. Our main concern for people is that our students across the country know we're open for business. We want you to enroll here at Mesa Community College because we have phenomenal faculty, we have phenomenal programs and curriculum and experts leading instruction. But what makes Mesa Community College one of the most unique community colleges in the nations is our commitment to student services. In the last bond that we had, we invested most of that bond into building a new student enrollment center that is staffed with, I see a lot of former students have moved into those positions.
Hmm.
And so, over the course of administration and changes in leadership, the one thing that's been consistent is to make sure that we build our student services, making sure those people have the resources to be successful. And it's quite impressive. And I'd really like to invite y'all to either go online and take a look around, or when you can come back to visit our college, because it's an exceptional model.
It is indeed, and the Ask MCC, the chat feature, is phenomenal with great responses and really caring and committed efforts by our student affairs staff to respond accordingly to any student or staff or faculty request. You know, Eddie, one of the things that I think as we begin that mental process of returning to the college campuses and to returning to face-to-face instruction and face-to-face support is remembering that sense of belonging and how important that is. I think sometimes, and this isn't the way I see our campus, but think a little bit, it's been a year. If you were to let a parking lot go for a year, there'd be weeds, there'd be cracks, there'd be, crumble, there'd be maybe trash. We're going to come back, and the college is going to feel pretty darn similar to what it was when you left a year ago. Like a blink and you're back, but it's been a year.
Yeah.
But it's going to be so important for us as we make that transition, staff, faculty, administrators, to also think about our students will be making that transition. And we have to be committed to making sure they feel like they can belong here, that they can be successful, they can thrive, they can achieve their dreams. That's going to be important when we come back to face. And we're doing that now virtually, but you and I both know that our students want that.
That's right.
Connection. They want that sense of belonging, the opportunity
Absolutely.
to join a club, to go study abroad, or to learn a new language. All of that can be done online, but you know that it's much more effective face to face.
Well, let's take all that money we saved from air conditioning, and let's throw a big old grand opening party next fall when we get ready to come back.
And I want to scoop ice cream for that.
Yeah. Yeah, that's right. That's right. Yeah, we used to do there. Yeah, that was one of the things y'all used to do, was come down and scoop ice cream.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And, I had this idea that we didn't get to do, but I had this idea. Wouldn't it be great for finals week if we worked with our food service vendor and we asked if staff and faculty could serve students like a midnight breakfast? Maybe not at midnight because I need my beauty sleep, but late night or early morning as you're starting off. And we know everybody does better when you have a full stomach. Wouldn't that be a great thing to do?
Yeah.
Putting it out there. But, since we're on this topic of kind of coming back, let's talk about enrollment for a minute.
Okay.
I think, our numbers aren't quite where we would like them to be. At the same time, I just want to give a huge shout out to all the faculty and the staff who are working one student at a time, helping them be successful, retaining them from one semester to the next, especially during this pandemic. It's not an easy lift. And many of our students, I think, thought like, oh, I'll take a semester off because I don't want to do online.
Right.
I don't want to be taking distance learning. And now we're into the second semester of it. And maybe we will garner some new students or students who stopped for a bit. But let's also work on keeping those students who stuck with us and helping them be successful.
Absolutely. And it was so abrupt. I mean, we went to spring break, and then we were just told, hey, you don't have to come back. And that was fine with a lot of people. Like, cool, I don't have to come back. Until people started realizing not only were they not coming back to school, they weren't coming back to their jobs. Right. And then it got real over the summer, and we've been able to get through the fall. We're in the spring. I think morale is up for the faculty that, needed some support of, going online and figuring out how to do all of that.
And the CTL has done a great job, and your support has done a great job in helping many transition there, Eddie.
Jennifer Strickland in the house. We have Jennifer Strickland is up next for a podcast, and begging Laura Ballard for e-learning to come over, and we got a good lineup,
Yeah.
And it's been weird. I really enjoy doing the podcast. I've learned a lot about my own language and things like that. Um, but I am, by next year, we obviously I want students doing all this because I miss being the production grip, for the students, and just the stuff they talk about is so not what you would think, and that's what makes being a teacher, in education so exciting. We have the numbers, you guys. We have the numbers. We're 20% down, we're 30% down, we're up 5, we're down. We have
Wah,
all of
wah,
that. Yeah,
wah.
but we got to keep our eye on the fact that this is a world class institution with world class teachers and staff and professionals across the campus. And we're, in the mortgage industry, we always used to say location, location, location. And Mesa Community College position because the city is really built and grown up around us. And so we have the greatest location. We're accessible from all points of the valley. And just want everybody to know that we're working really, really hard. Departments are working really, really hard that when you take a class, we're very conscientious that those classes have a tag so that you can transfer over to the university. Dr. Jacobson in the English department, he's really spent a lot of time making sure all of us, as we develop curriculum or classes, that we're mindful of transfer. So when you come and enroll here at Mesa, keep that in mind. You might be able to get it done here at a little more affordable price. Speaking of that, hey, there any new projects going on or programs happening out there?
Well, there certainly are a few. There's the Sundis Grant, or the grant that Title V for developing HSI or Hispanic serving institutions. And so it's a $3 million grant over 5 years, and really focusing on how we can increase our student success rates, meaning graduation, completion, retention. Those are important things, and I am really thrilled with the work of the grant writing committee to secure the grant for MCC. It's a really big deal.
Yeah, you can.
Yes, and team. It's it always takes a team, and so it's fantastic, and we're proud of that. I think the work that the Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Council has started under the leadership of Jim and Nicole is really fantastic. They are really pulling together a great group of people to try to focus our college on being better, particularly when it comes to hiring staff and faculty, when it comes to looking at some of our processes and policies, when it comes to developing the culture we want to have here at MCC. And I don't know if that's necessarily new, but it certainly is more critical now than ever.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean,
That's not pocket change. It does. Well, it's the team's plan. It's the committee who really outlined what they will use it for, and some of it will be for staff to support students. Some of it will be for technological support and ideas to, again, continue to help our students be as successful as possible. Some different ideas with regard to how we are structured and what are the tools or resources that students most need for them to be successful and to work through to graduation.
So I'm sure there was some sort of oversight component to, once you accept the money, that it needs to be spent in a certain way.
Yes.
Does that include curriculum development?
I think there was some of the funds that were focused on curriculum development, and so maybe you should tap into that, Eddie.
Yeah. Well, if I know we were going to talk about it, I would have probably got that. But
and Nora or Dr. Reyes,
she's leading it.
She is part of the team.
The team.
Yes, it's
Yeah.
a team. It's.
Yeah.
I was reminded by Chanel Carter this morning in the session that it's not just one person.
Yeah.
And that's such a good reminder.
Absolutely.
Such a good reminder that it's I am but one of many.
Yeah.
And how do we think about that and help that change how we look at what we're doing?
Yeah.
Because we are more interconnected than we've maybe ever even imagined. I think we are doing more in partnership with each other, whether that is partnership with our shared governance bodies, really looking at our shared governance coordinating board and the leadership there and trying to formulate SGCB 2.0. And so they're working on that as we speak. And there are some really good things happening. Chanel also highlighted where we're posting for positions, our faculty positions, our staff positions, posting in more or casting a much wider net to try to recruit people here to MCC and to the district for positions that we have across the district, which is a good thing.
Yeah, as long as we follow through and actually do that stuff, absolutely. I mean, I've seen all the pretty pictures, but I actually want to see some action behind that kind of stuff. I've said this for years and years and years. There was this misnomer about diversity programs based in what happened in Tucson and the superintendent down there about building ethnic programs. And that was very much limited to the high school district there in Tucson and how that sort of started filtering its way up here. I'm not really quite sure how that happened, but if we want to recruit faculty of cultural backgrounds and diversity backgrounds, there has to be a purpose for them to come here. And it's not to come here to fight for stuff that doesn't exist. I'd like to see us take the lead in having a African American studies program or American Indian studies program or Hawaiian or women's studies or these things that we tend to talk about in the lens of diversity. And that's what attracts people. It's not like we don't want to recruit people and throw them into the fire. It's like, no, let's really get together and really build some serious academic programs for people that they would want to aspire to be a part of. So that's what I'm hoping for. That we start to settle in on some of these programs and really develop them in a way that is welcoming and not here, go fight for a certain area. We want to. And I think to me, that's always what has made Maricopa great. Is you see programs across the district that have emphasis on real diversity. So hopefully that'll be the beginning of that. And I don't know, 600,000 just doesn't seem like a lot of money to me anymore.
Not with the cost of things these days.
Yeah. In some ways, we need to build a new building or,
We do.
I always envision Maricopa, especially Mesa. I always envision us someday growing up into like functioning as more like a university where there's specific colleges on the campus. I think we can do that and keep our community college funding. But I think it'd be exciting. I think if we could do that in a way that made sense to the taxpayers and to the folks downtown, so it doesn't look like we're duplicating ASU. But boy, those guys, I mean, I went down to Tempe the other day. It was like, what? I thought I was in Chicago. You know what I mean? They're just eating up everything, we gotta keep we're gonna keep our eyes on you guys over there, man. We really wish you a lot of luck. We love our ASU partners and all the incredible projects and programs that you have developed over there. It's so impressive,
Breaking a lot of boundaries over there.
Breaking a lot of boundaries, but so can Maricopa. Maricopa, we have our own identity, and we serve a particular demographic, I think, that is really the foundation of Western civilization in many ways, that working people can get a quality education, at an affordable cost. That's our niche. and of course occupational stuff and all of that. Yeah, budgets, they're always fun to. I loved my budget classes in in grad school.
Getting into it, huh? Getting into the numbers and into
Yeah,
the
putting
it,
the pieces together.
and it is like a giant puzzle,
Yeah,
understanding it and then understanding the trickle down economics of
yeah,
it.
that's right. We're so limited. I mean, that's why, like, for me, I'd written an email this morning about the new media lab because we'd had these discussions about how we were supposed to expand, and then we have another change in leadership and all of that. And it's like, our team got together and talked. It's like, we don't want to be the people that pull the oxygen out of the room. We're real grateful for what we have, and the thing is, we deliver an amazing product. And the idea actually of being more visible was sort of leadership's idea, that in a way that they could contribute. And so, we just thought, that's really not. There's, other people need room to expand. Other people need resources. We got a good thing going on. I mean, we made it happen because of the district support, and we got a room that wasn't used all that much. But if those kinds of things happen, then we're grateful for it. But you gotta, at some point, you let the process work itself out. And our commitment is to just keep delivering amazing student projects and support in terms of multimedia development and the skill set, because I'm still committed to humanizing the curriculum, modernizing the curriculum, but most important is we want to teach the skills that those students are going to need in the future, not me.
Right. You're thinking about the future.
That's right. We're
Yeah.
thinking about, well, and people brought it up that businesses across the state have actually been a bit articulate about, they want to hire people that have a humanities background, that are well read, that understand history. Isn't that exciting? The
Mm-hmm.
more business college graduates become business owners and they understand the value of why it's important to understand Washington's address to those who wanted to destroy the country or make him a king, and why he argued against, we need democracy, we're the Declaration of Independence. They want critical thinkers who are like that. And to me, man, that's really exciting.
And how do we acknowledge all of our history, right?
Yeah.
The history of racism, the history of that we have with our socioeconomic status,
Right.
the way in which we treat and have treated in the past people with disabilities. We have work to do.
Right.
We have work to teach the future, our future leaders, our current students better.
Yeah.
And you do that here.
That's
you
right.
you afford them the
That's right.
opportunity
That's right.
to tell the story.
We call ourselves truth tellers, not storyteller.
Mm.
And the name of this place, of course, is a place of belonging, which is a concept, indigenous concept that's been around for tens of thousands of years, in the language of having balance and equilibrium in the environment that you live in. To be a healthy person. That's the thing. That's the dynamic that's going on in the country right now. I mean, we literally impeached a president. I say we. I didn't. I was at home playing with my dog.
It
They
was
impeached.
done yesterday.
Yeah, they impeached a sitting president, and so
Twice.
twice. It's sort of like we're in this place where maybe sort of like COVID, as tragic as that day was to see the American flag assaulted inside of the Capitol on our ground, on our watch. In many ways, maybe that's what needed to happen for some, at least 10 people in the House to wake up and say, this is the wrong path, because it starts feeling like, if you're a Democrat or you're a Republican or whatever, it's starting to feel sort of that pre-World War II. Everybody's blaming this one particular group for all of these problems. And so, I mean, it obviously, whoever is responsible for leading that, the end result was violence. And we know that violence is the lowest form of human intellect, right?
How do we heal from that? How are we going to,
Well,
at some point, maybe do you think we need to heal?
we understand healing very well. We understand the science of healing. It's having the will to do that.
Ah, the will to heal.
That's right. Yeah, you're going to live with the cancer inside of your body? Maybe. I don't know. You want to heal?
Mm-hmm.
We need to deal with it. And it just it gets us into this emotional space around politics that I don't think I've ever experienced in my lifetime. Nixon left office before he was impeached. John Kennedy was assassinated. Reagan was shot. Ford was shot. Clinton was impeached. You know, it's been messy, but not to this, not where neighbors are taking arms up against neighbors. Not in my lifetime.
Right.
And it's scary. And I think as a public a higher institution, we have a responsibility, you know, to tackle some of these things and to talk about them in a way that brings everybody back to the table where
right.
you can have a voice and different from mine, you know,
And still be
and
respected.
still we're gonna go, you know, we're gonna go eat at the same table later.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we that in and of itself, you know, that used to be what we used to call rhetoric, you know. But now it's not. It's the rhetoric is not rhetoric anymore. It's propaganda. And who knows? Do we know the truth? I don't, you know, I'm not presumptuous like that. You know, I know what I see. You know, I don't have a TV at home because I just got rid of cable and TV and all that. But I try to read stuff. And obviously, you know, you can see stuff online anytime you want. But what I do know is we got to be really careful right now because we can cause a lot of damage to ourselves. But we need to come back.
We do.
You know.
We need to care for each other again.
That's right. And we can do that even, you know, in everything that I do as a tribal member. I almost in everything I've ever written or talked about or produced, I always acknowledge that Thomas Jefferson owned slaves and, you know, Indian Removal Act and Andrew Jackson carried out genocide. And, you know, I want people to know I'm not stupid,
Right.
you know, but I still have to live in today. Right. And my response to all of that still needs to be healthy because this is our country, right? Our tribes, we're not from somewhere else. You know, this is our country. We have a right to be who we are in our country, right?
And our children are watching us.
Yeah. Oh man,
And our
that's the
children are
heartbreak.
watching us.
That's right. That's the tough part. We won't know what they learned for
Years.
will it cycle again? You know, well, we're not out of the woods with this by any means. You know, we still have a lot of work to do to bring each other back to the, you know, reasonable
Mm-hmm.
table. Hi, everybody. We started down this track of the DEI, which I will admit I'm not up on a whole lot, not involved with
Might be
that.
great to have Nicole and Jim in.
I got Nicole to write for us, and I think we either published her in our press last time or she's in the queue right now. We're getting ready to release our next issue of New Media Lab Press. You've written for us.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe you'll want to throw us another one in there. We're looking for just faculty and staff to write a 1 to 2 page thing about being a human being, cooking, or dog frisbee, or, you know, whatever it is you do. We want to share our human stories and connect that way. But, you know, we're talking about these sort of social justice issues and how complicated they are and emotionally charged. And I think we also need to give each other room to make a mistake about, you know, even our own language. I've learned more from saying the wrong thing in the wrong time than I have from getting it right.
Absolutely. Me
Right?
too.
And we need to give people that grace.
Ah,
Grace. You owe
yeah.
me a Volkswagen or something, isn't that? Right? You know, we need a little bit of grace around, you know, we say things or think things through. And I really, you know, next time maybe when we do our podcast, I want to talk about failure,
Mm.
you know, because people who are mindful and people who are really have intentions of learning make a lot of mistakes. I learned that when I read Einstein's biography, and they included a bunch of essays because he was brokenhearted that the government actually used his work to create a nuclear bomb or atom bomb. Which one was it? Was it nuclear? Or,
I think it might have been the atom bomb.
was it the atom bomb?
It was.
Yeah, I think so. But anyway, he was brokenhearted that they used his science to create weapons of war because coming from a Jewish man coming from Germany, his whole trip was to not, the
right.
humanity side. And he writes about all the failings that he had. They're just stacked up. I failed,
Right.
and then I had a breakthrough. I failed.
Another breakthrough.
Another
right.
breakthrough. Yeah. And we need to do that. We need to give each other, hey, man, you know what? You said this 6 months ago. Yeah, well, that's how I learned. I learned, and it challenged me.
And if you say it, I learned from Nicole Collins' statement, connect before you correct.
Oh, yeah, that's good.
How can we connect with each other before we're correcting someone?
Yeah, that's always
so
good.
that you're doing it from a good place, from a human place, from a place of love and care and ethic of care and understanding, compassion. So connect before you correct.
I like that. The chief of police said his policy is to build a relationship with someone before you need one.
Yeah.
I thought that was really good. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Sorry, I don't have any wise words. I'm quoting somebody else here, Eddie. But I always value these conversations, and I don't know to those who are listening if there's any value that you've gleaned from this, but I want to echo something Eddie said earlier, that we have just a fantastic group of faculty and staff who are so committed to their craft, whether their craft is enrolling students, whether it's teaching English, whether it's teaching women's studies, that we have such committed people at this college, committed to our students, committing to making the world a better place.
It almost sounds like a prayer, man. We need to say amen after that one. Yeah. Yay, everybody. We're here at the New Media Lab. We're having a welcome back conversation with our president, Dr. Lori Berquam, who actually her dissertation work included, she worked a lot of Native women up there in Wisconsin, and it included a concept of a sense of belonging. And it's a good universe that brings good folks together. So we just want to welcome you all back to Mesa Community College for the 2021 spring semester.
Woohoo.
Yeah, we want you all to stay safe. And as I say in my dad's language, they always say, which means I'll see you again. We want to tell you guys, man, take care of each other out there. That's because we're all we have. And we'd like to give our president the opportunity for the last word.
I just want to say thank you. I'm grateful. I'm grateful to the commitment that I see from many of you in helping our students be successful. Grateful for those listening, and grateful to Eddie and Keegan for bringing this podcast to you. Namaste.
Namaste, everybody. We'll see you soon.